You can feel it in the air, sweater weather, pumpkin spice lattes, the Sophia Scarf all over your social media feed. Last autumn, that scarf pattern had an absolute chokehold on the knitting community, and based on patterns I'm seeing pop up in my social media feed this fall, looks like we're in for a fresh batch of this popular scarf. And I have to say, I understand why people love the Sophia Scarf so much. So why then does it leave me so uninspired? Well, hit subscribe, share this video, grab some knitting, and I'll share with you my opinion on the Sophia Scarf and 5 other patterns you could be knitting this fall. Hello and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, I am Carrie Craft Geek, and this is where I spread the joy and love of making pretty things with pretty string, usually with 2 sticks. And yes, it's true, one pretty thing with pretty string I will not be making is the Sophia Scarf. Don't get me wrong, I understand why this pattern is so beloved by so many knitters. Looking at it, I can see that the Sophia Scarf is a very stylish garter stitch scarf, kind of like a handkerchief scarf that has this really nice, lovely I-cord edge detail. I can tell just by looking at the picture that this pattern would be a very quick knit, great for gift giving, and wonderful for beginning knitters to kind of start expanding their skills, but also a nice relaxing knit for more experienced knitters. And yet, I can't imagine ever purchasing this pattern and making it for myself. And then my reasons for that are very personal. One is I happen to have a kind of a short neck, and I feel like these sort of small, skinny scarves that are meant to tie very closely around the neck just aren't very attractive for me. I'm not comfortable wearing them. And so as a matter of personal preference, this is not a scarf I would get much use out of. Now, that doesn't mean I couldn't make it for a friend who would absolutely love it, and maybe I'd be tempted to do that, but quite frankly, I look at the picture of this scarf and I'm pretty sure I know how to make this without the pattern. The truth is, I could probably grab some yarn and needles right now, cast on, and start making something that maybe wasn't identical to this pattern, but would still be lovely, that my friends would still enjoy, and I could save myself a little bit of money while doing it. Hi, Ed and Carrie here. Last night, I decided to put my money where my mouth is and cast on a skinny scarf similar to the Sophia Scarf with an I-cord edging. I chose to do seat stitch instead. I did have to do a little bit of trial and error at the beginning to figure out the increases for those tapered edge, but you know, it didn't take me that long. This is no shade to the Sophia Scarf, the designer, or the people who choose to purchase the pattern. We all have our reasons on deciding when a pattern is worth purchasing. More, this is just to point out that with some basic knitting knowledge, you don't always need a pattern to make something. You can improvise things. So if I'm not interested in making the Sophia Scarf, what scarves would I be interested in making this fall? Well, I'm so glad I imagined you asking me that. I actually have 5 patterns. Some of them are very similar to the Sophia Scarf, but I think maybe a little bit more interesting in knit. Some are very different, and there's one at the end I just think is so unique and beautiful, and I'm so excited to share it with you. Of course, all the patterns I'm going to talk about today will be linked down in the description box. Some of these might be clearly marked affiliate links, which if you click on and do some shopping, I might earn a small commission, which really does help support my channel. So if you choose to use that extra level of support of my channel or leave me a YouTube super thanks or buy me a coffee, it is so greatly appreciated. Okay, with all that said, let's jump in and start looking at some pretty things made with pretty string. So if you love the style of the Sophia Scarf, but you want a pattern where maybe the stitches aren't so basic, consider scarf number 4 by My Favorite Things. Now don't let the generic name fool you. This pattern is anything but ordinary. It features a really lovely textured stitch pattern that, from what I can tell from the photos, is really a knit and purl combination. But I think the reason this scarf really appeals to me is actually the selvage stitch edging. It features this braid-like edge thanks to a technique called the die stitch. Die stitch was developed by, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Asia Brill. She actually has a video on how to do it. I will link it down in the description box. But I think this selvage stitch is so beautiful, and it's really not complicated to do. If you know how to do a lifted increase, which I do have a video about, by the way, if you want to learn how to do a lifted increase. But if you can do a lifted increase, you can do this selvage stitch. Now, would I personally wear scarf number 4? Probably not, for the same reasons. I'm not interested in wearing the Sophia Scarf. But if a friend wanted one of these, I'd be happy to buy this pattern and make it for them. Now, if I wanted to make a skinny scarf that I would actually like to wear, I would choose to buy Drifting Dawn Scarf by Janina Kalo. This narrow scarf is knit on the bias, so it has a tapered edge on either end, and features an overall eyelet pattern that is perfect for beginner knitters who just want to dip their toes into lace knitting. Now, if you heard bias knit, and you go, oh, I don't know if I'd be ready for something like that, don't worry. If you can do an increase and a decrease, you can do a bias knit. Because all bias knitting is, at the end of the day, is you do an increase or decrease at the beginning of a stitch pattern, and then you do an offsetting increase or decrease at the end of the stitch pattern, and it causes the fabric to just kind of shift into a diagonal direction. It is such an easy technique. In fact, I didn't even think about this right now. This is the Clappity scarf, a very famous free pattern, and this is knit on the bias. I really love this scarf because it's light and it's airy and narrow and small enough so that if I wanted to, I could kind of tie it around my purse, go out for the evening. If it gets a little chilly, take it off my purse, throw it around my neck, and just wear it loosely around my neck to give a little bit of warmth without feeling like my neck was getting swallowed up by all the fabric. But if you really like kind of the style of the Sophia Scarf, well, you can do that as well with the Drifting Dawn pattern. So I think this pattern is a little bit more versatile. I think the stitch pattern is a little bit more interesting. And at the end of the day, for me, Drifting Dawn would be totally worth my money and my yarn. All right, we are about halfway through the patterns. I want to know, what do you think so far? Are any of these piquing your interest? Or are you like, Carrie, I still think the Sophia Scarf rules them all? Let me know down in the comments below. Sometimes the best things in life are free, and I think that's definitely the case with the Garter Stitch Bow Tie by Beverly Leedsma. This free pattern is a garter stitch ascot scarf with a keyhole, which means that you can take one end of the scarf and just draw it through this keyhole to tie it together. And I just think it's a really nice, clean look. It lies flat, and it doesn't have sort of that extra bulk around the neck the way it does with scarves that you kind of wrap around your neck a couple of times and tie off. One of the things I really like about projects like this is they are really good stash busters. This project only takes about 3 ounces of worsted weighted yarn. So you can use sort of oddball skeins you have left over from other projects. And gauge isn't super critical, so you can play around with using different weights of yarn to have lighter or heavier scarves. If you want to be really adventuresome, you could learn how to make this scarf and then kind of use this pattern as a blank, and instead of doing garter stitch, try using it with seed stitch instead. And that's a way you can start sort of designing your own projects and thinking about patterns that you purchase, not for just the pattern itself to do exactly what the designer did, but to kind of take that pattern and use it as a blank to kind of play around with what you might want to make out of it. So yeah, I think this is a great free pattern and a great opportunity to learn how to make this style of scarf. Now, if you already know how to do this, or you just want to make something like this, but have a more advanced stitch pattern involved, well, I've got the pattern for you next. When you want a keyhole scarf, but have something that's still more adventuresome, why not look at the Gray Circles Scarf by Christy Hill? I saw this scarf and I immediately was like, oh, now that I want to make. Christy Hill actually has a number of gorgeous ascot keyhole patterns, so you can definitely find one that appeals to you. But this is the one I want to buy because, well, I just think it's a little bit more unique. The scarf features a chunky cable stitch pattern with a lacy edge, and I like the way that the lacy edge kind of takes away from some of the heaviness of the chunky cable. My favorite thing about this pattern, however, is the ends. Most of the ascot keyhole patterns that I saw, well, they're kind of like mimicking a bow tie and they have a tapered end and it's really cute, but I just really love how this has this rounded edge at the end. It's the circle. And I guess the other thing is every time I look at it, especially this view, oh my gosh, the way that the cables like lead in to that circle at the end of the ascot, I don't know, it just reminds me of the Enterprise. There's a reason why my name is Carrie Craft Geek. That's all I'll say. So you're going to notice this particular pattern is available on Etsy, and I should disclose I am an Etsy affiliate. That is not why I picked this pattern for today's video. It's just a happy coincidence. But if you are considering buying this, please consider utilizing my Etsy affiliate link. When you use my link and you make a purchase, I earn a small commission, and these commissions help me buy materials and patterns for review, for demonstration, and just really helps keep this channel going. So if you utilize that extra level of support, thank you so much. It is so greatly appreciated. Viral knitting patterns and beige aesthetics dominating the knitting landscape, I admit that sometimes looking at patterns, things start to feel very like same. So I was really excited when I was looking for alternatives to the Sophia Scarf and came across this pattern that was released just this month, which is the Paar Blad Scarf by Jen Gazen. My apologies if I mispronounced that name. I just adore this pattern. I think this is an elegant, unique design featuring what reads to me as a cascade of knitted leaves. And in looking at the pictures and this description, I do think this pattern is a bit more for the adventuresome knitter. This scarf is made by knitting two pieces that are then sewn together, and there are obviously shaping in order to create these leaf motifs, plus you've got this detail right in the leaf. I think of this as kind of like a stem. It's this very textured stitch. I will say that if you are a experienced lace knitter, you're gonna know what this technique is. If you're not as experienced a lace knitter, don't worry, it's not complicated to do. And the designer does provide links to video tutorials, so you're not left alone to figure out how to make this pattern. So yeah, I just think this pattern is so gorgeous, and if you're willing to go down the leafy path of this pattern, you're gonna be rewarded with a scarf that sets you apart from the crowd. So there it is. Those are 5 knitted scarves that I would knit this fall rather than the Sophia Scarf. And again, just like I said at the beginning of the video, no shade to the Sophia Scarf. It's very popular for good reasons. It's just not my personal taste. You know, okay, a little bit of a tangent here. I understand why patterns go viral, and I understand sort of like that feeling that you can have when everybody's working on the same type of pattern at once, and you're all having this experience together, and it's very exciting. Things go viral for a reason, and I think it really speaks to the need we all have for community. And when you kind of hop onto a viral knitting trend, you feel like you're in a community. The downside of that, however, is sometimes we start losing some creativity. I think there's a tendency for things to start getting flattened down to the most common denominator, and we start kind of losing maybe some quirkiness, some edginess, some distinctiveness. So I always kind of hope that videos like this are kind of an inspiration to look past the what's hot now and find those hidden gems that are just as fun to knit, and you can have something that is truly unique to your own personal taste and style. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If so, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your other yarn wrangling friends. Liking, sharing, commenting, and of course, hitting the subscribe button are all great free ways that help support my channel. It lets YouTube know that this is a space worth checking out and recommends me to other knitters who haven't found me yet, and we just keep growing this community. I've had such great conversations with all y'all lately on my last couple of videos, and it just makes me super, super excited to see how this space is growing with all of you. Again, thank you so much for watching me. I hope that you have a wonderful day, evening, weekend, weeknight, whenever you might be watching this. Happy health and happy knitting. Bye. Or maybe it's not bye. Maybe you want to let the fun continue. No worries, I got you covered. There's a video suggestion popping up right now. So I'll see you at the next video.